Now let's switch back to some other things. Caitlin Clark, Ryan and I earlier last week talked about Caitlin Clark and all the hate she is getting from the league. And what happens? More of it happens, and there is legitimate debates going on all over the place. So as me and Ryan talked about the target on Caitlin Clark's back, and it was especially shown this past weekend with an altercation with the Chicago Sky, her arch rival Angel Reese, and her teammate making some noise in the game, and her teammate Kennedy Carter blatantly pushes her to the ground for no reason whatsoever. And I'm getting so many different opinions on the WNBA where I don't even know where to go here again, because we already talked about the hate that Caitlin Clark has. And what shall we do to extend this conversation and take it to another level? Well, the only other thing in my mind, besides I just want to show this clip of whether it's about how the WNBA is being portrayed. You know, I've heard various opinions on how it's being portrayed. Is it only Caitlin Clark? Is it this? Is it that? Caitlin Clark, again, we talked about the white privilege and all the racial undertones, and her being chosen as the person to make the WNBA popular, and all of that. And there's other people who either on the court showing their displeasure of Caitlin Clark, literally trying to hurt her, or there's more people saying stuff to the media, where Angel Reese literally just a couple hours ago said, quote, let me get this. What Angel Reese said pretty much portrayed as Caitlin Clark's arch nemesis. Though she too, I will get credit putting herself out there. She was in the Met Gala and all that stuff, doing her part to be popular as well. But let me just get the exact quote. But okay, let me just pretty much paraphrase it. So she says, Caitlin Clark isn't the only one. People all are showing up for me as well. I'm paraphrasing here. Pretty much saying, I'm the one as well. Actually, I have the quote right here. Sorry. Quote, I'll look back in 20 years and be like, the reason why we're watching women's basketball is not just because of one person. It's because of me too. I want y'all to realize that. And then we also have people debating how pretty much the WNBA should be portrayed, from Pat McAfee calling out, which he did apologize for Caitlin Clark, but he said, you're not talking about this quote unquote rookie class. You're talking about this white bitch, Caitlin Clark. And I think I understood the context. He wasn't literally calling her that. He just was emphasizing her, and he wasn't wrong. But we also have this gem, which is hilarious. Let me just play this. Can you guys hear, by the way?
Very quiet.
Hold up. I will fix that right now. One moment. But I'm going to play you a clip from First Take today where Stephen A just got owned regarding his coverage of the WNBA from the great Molly McNutt, who is a basketball correspondent for ESPN, and she also is the color commentator for the Knicks. So special love for Molly McNutt. But here's her and Stephen A debating coverage of the WNBA.
Because we bring that up and talk about what potentially might get in their way, which we do to men all the time. Now we got to sit up here and watch every syllable. I resent that, and I'll leave it at that.
All right, so let me. I know we got to go to break. Welcome to the world of being a woman, Stephen A., and how you have to dance about your word choice and you have to please everybody and anybody as you navigate your being. We are talking about the world's greatest.
How about being a black man?
Being black. Hold on 1 second.
Have you...
So this is what I'm saying to y'all, though, and I know we got to go to break. And we didn't necessarily go there, and maybe we should. There are so many layers in this conversation around the way that it's being discussed. No. And yes, Shannon, I know y'all are going to say and Stephen A., I know you just shared that you have talked about the WNBA on your program too. You guys may not have said everybody, but the prevailing sentiment for folks that are just joining the WNBA and following women's sports is unfair to the women of this league, to your point, who have laid the groundwork for Caitlin Clark to come in and now take it to the next level. That's all I'm saying in these conversations. Kennedy Carter's behavior is not indicative of the entire league. We are still talking about competition where you are allowed to get a little extra elbow in if you are competing and you do it within the parameters of the game. The game is physical. Caitlin is helping to grow the league. These women understand that, but she cannot be babied as a rookie. That's all I'm at.
All right.
Who talks about the WNBA? Who talks about women? Who talk about women's sports more than First Take?
Stephen A., respectfully, with your platform, you could have been doing this 3 years ago if you wanted to.
That face.
Wow.
All right, we got to go. You guys.
So did
You
you
know
say
you're
that
my
on the show?
guy, but
Who does more than
Stephen
us?
A., I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you.
Wow.
Don't do that. I'm talking to you about the
Oh, my
power that
Lord.
you have.
Okay.
I'm talking to you.
Okay.
It's,
All right, let's.
I got it.
You're my guy, but
I
I'm
got
talking
it.
to you.
I got it.
Guys, I really appreciate
you my girl, but you've missed a lot of episodes of First Take. You missed a lot.
Stephen A.,
Guys.
3 years ago,
I'll leave
you
it
were
at
not
that.
talking about the
Go
W
ahead,
at this
Mama.
level. Don't do that.
Guys.
Nobody was, Monica.
Guys,
You making Stephen A's point, Monica. Monica, you
gentlemen,
making
please
Stephen
let
A's
me do my
point.
job. Please let me do my job. We've gone for 40 minutes straight. It was a riveting discussion. I have to get into commercial break.
Well, I don't think we'll see Monica McNutt on First Take anytime soon.
No, I
And
think that was her first and last appearance for a while.
And last thing, Stephen A., I did not hear this in full, but I've just been reading about it. Stephen A. on his independent podcast actually responded more about this.
I bet he
Though he did give credit to Monica McNutt and says a lot of love, he said that what she said was highly offensive and blatantly fake. And he's genuinely pissed. And here's a quote. Look, I'm not pissed to the point where I'm annoyed. I'm going to call people out on their names and all that, he began. He continues with, quote, especially people that I love, like the person I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. But certain things need to be corrected for the record because certain things people are ill-informed. And the publications that grab headlines and try to manipulate things and make things seem that they're something they're not, I understand that to the point they're desperate for clickbait. And that's how they do it. They don't care about accuracy. They just care about talking shit and not knowing what the hell they're talking about. All right. A lot to soak in, and all just the focusing on the WNBA and the treatment of Caitlin Clark on the court and in the media. So much going on. Am I right?
Yeah, I want to ask Kara a question that's slightly removed from the WNBA context because we've talked about Caitlin Clark a bunch, and I'm sure me and Matt are about to do it again. But this is obviously women in sports being elevated to the highest. That's ESPN. That's First Take. That's real. That's the real deal, right? Like those folks talk about the NFL and the NBA, the two biggest sports in America, all the time. Like as a woman specifically, and obviously every woman is different. I get that, but just I would like to hear your take on the fact that what may be one of the first real emergences of women in sports, like a main cultural touchstone, certainly in a long time, is kind of devolving into what you just watched. Like, what's your instant reaction to that?
I mean, there's been, not that to say that she's not a huge athlete or anything, but I think a lot too about Simone Biles, Serena Williams, and just how a lot of times when female athletes get elevated to a certain point, they're kind of still expected to maintain this level of femininity and composure that male athletes aren't held to the same standard of. A lot of times when I see female athletes getting shit or talked down on, I just think male athletes do this and worse nonstop, and it never ever becomes a story.
Interesting you said that, because I was thinking a similar thing recently, like maybe just a few minutes before coming on. But Matt, well, I haven't heard anyone talk about this, but we have this scenario in the NBA frequently. Like, just look at any time Draymond Green has played basketball. And I get that that's funny because, Draymond Green just hits people. So for Carr, if you don't know, there's a player who literally, I think at this point, his job is to just tackle the other
An
players.
enforcer.
Yeah, exactly.
Goon.
Yeah, like in hockey, exactly. Basically his job is to just wreck somebody, and usually a star player, right? Like it's someone that they have a problem with, that they need to get taken care of, Draymond takes care of it. So, and no one gets this upset. I mean, about Draymond Green's play. Like, everyone knows that the play is dirty. Like, no one's condoning it, right? No one's like, oh, Draymond's totally good. Like, that's totally clean hit or whatever. But we do all know, like, we do all accept it, and we don't care. So I guess for now, Matt, from your perspective, and I think Kara's kind of already answered why she thinks that might be the case. Why do you think that we don't care about this, or why we care about this more than we do, like, say, Draymond Green?
Because the fact that it's women's sports are now getting the same type of coverage the men, at least in basketball, that we do have to make it, for lack of a better term, just more scrutinized and awkward almost. We have to take extra baby steps simply because it's the WNBA. Does that make sense? For instance, NBA players fight all the time. They literally do. Right. WNBA players have fought all the time. And now, because it's simply women, it's different now. We have to treat it a different way now, even though they're literally humans on humans trying to compete, being number one. Right. On top of that, you bring in Caitlin Clark, who, though I respect and enjoy so much, she both has a target on her back and also has special treatment in terms of the way she's covered, if that makes sense. So now that she's involved with this, oh my God, violence. And especially, I was hearing her press conference, and she said, I grew up with brothers. I got beat up and pushed around all the time. That didn't stop me. Don't make it more weird because it's a girl. We're doing the same exact thing. We're playing the same exact game. The only difference is the basketball smaller. So that's why it's aggravating. And I told you this off the air, the way I'm treating the WNBA season, like, is my first true first year as a WNBA fan. I never saw it as men and women. I just see it as a brand new sport. And it's like, to me, learning about all these new players is like when I became a basketball fan at 5. I'm learning who are the best players here. I'm learning about the history. I'm doing the same thing, almost 30, for the WNBA. And I never looked at it, men and women. I just see athletes, and they're incredible and amazing to watch. While other people are making it just so damn weird and scrutinized, and the media is taking advantage of it as well in their coverage. So when you get to the point where, like Molly was pretty much alluding to, they've been here the whole life. The WNBA has been around for 27 years. You could have done this earlier. Nothing was stopping you. And now you are, you have this awkward moment. That Stephen A. clearly is not letting go easily. And I wish he would just take his L. It's not even that big of a deal. Because what she said wasn't wrong.
Right, yeah.
But he claims this is wrong, but...
Right.
And I mean, he needs to get his audience on board, right? So like, if it's not really trending or relevant
that's what I was going to say. During
Mm.
that whole exchange specifically, I want to go back to what we were talking about before, but I want to talk about this first since we just brought it up.
Yes.
Shannon Sharp says, you're making his point, Monica, right? That's what he says to her, like, over and over again. And everyone kind of talked over him, didn't let him extrapolate. But I knew exactly what he meant when he said that. The reason that it wasn't talked about 3 years ago, and I think anyone who disagrees with this is being disingenuous. And that's fine. You can be disingenuous because it's trending right now. Me and Matt talked about this offline. I get it. It's trendy right now to pretend that we've all been WNBA fans this entire time. We have not. Most people have not. It has not been a profitable league. It has not been a profitable sport. It has not been a profitable endeavor overall. Like, and I talk profitable as in like NBA profitable. I mean, I don't know if each and every team ran a deficit or not. I'm not going to get into the financials of each team in the league, but overall, it wasn't a huge sport. And it wasn't a huge sport 3 years ago. If you were in the media covering the WNBA 3 years ago, you didn't have a lot of listeners because nobody cared. That's just a fact. We can talk about why that is on another episode because we don't want to go too long, like they did, going 40 minutes on this one segment. But now is the time where that could happen. So,
and like I get her being upset about him not mentioning it. Like I get the thought behind it of you're not supporting female athletes if you have the platform, but at the same time, like he's concerned about
he went on and he was like, "Who does more for women?" And I'm like, Well, as soon as you say that, that's when you should get called out. Be like, well, where were you 2 years
Yeah.
ago?
Yeah.
And I agree with that. Like, I think what she said was totally fair because he was trying to play it as like, I do all this for women athletes. So she was like, well, if you're doing all this for women athletes, where were you before it was going to get you a ton of views? And that's a totally accurate thing to say.
Yeah.
He's only doing it now because of the views. But my point is, she said that people in the league are upset because they put in all the hard work for Caitlin Clark to get and bring it to the next level. Fine. But that hard work was behind the scenes because nobody cared. And you cannot put the genie back in the bottle. And trying to take out your current star is a bad idea. I'm just going to put it out there. If she goes out with a knee injury from a hit like that, and and by the way, she got called flagrant foul for the hit, and that's all that should have been. It was a flagrant foul. They called her. Like someone said it was an assault. I'm like, no, it wasn't. It was basketball. Like, listen, she did just pull up and hit her. Like, that's true. But in basketball, when you do that, it's a flagrant foul, and that's what she got. So, like, I think the calling and the officiating, the whole thing was fair. I don't think they have to give Caitlin bodyguards or whatever. But if she goes down with a knee injury, everyone in that league is just a little bit more screwed than they were the morning before that happens. And they don't have to believe me, but that's true. But I wanted to go to the point that you were saying, Matt. You're right. We are also infantilizing, and Kara kind of said the same thing. Like, we are also infantilizing women because we believe that women are supposed to be a certain way, and seeing them play the game like the men do is really jarring for a lot of people. I said this last week, right? Last time we talked about this, about Caitlin Clark and like the whole basketball scene, and like how for a lot of people they were assuming this league was bad. When they showed up, they thought everybody in the league was bad and didn't play real basketball. And now they're seeing that that's not true. This is real ball, and they ball really hard. And it's an adjustment, I think, from what people were expecting. But it's a good thing because it's more entertaining the way that they do it. So I do think that they're both right in some ways. But I, at this point, really want the Caitlin Clark nonsense to stop because it's making me not care about Caitlin Clark anymore. And I'm not like you. I'm not going to learn the history of the WNBA. Not going to watch every game. I don't watch every game of the NBA or the NFL. And the NFL is the only one I even profess to be an actual fan of. I'm a casual fan, but we're the ones who will buy the tickets every once in a while. We're the ones who go to Buffalo Wild Wings to watch the playoffs. You need to get us eventually. Otherwise, you don't have a full-on sporting spectacle. And so I would cool it with all this Caitlin Clark like controversy because controversy is pushing people away. I think you need to get people to talk about the teams in a more positive light because I don't think any of the WNBA conversation has been positive.
Like, just enjoy the game versus just focusing on women. Women
we do it
are
too.
fighting.
Like, we do it too, but that's only because that's where this is a news show. We cover what's trending.
Yeah.
When the basketball stuff kicks off, again, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure will be conversations about those sorts of things, but the people who talk about sports every day, they gotta change it up. If you're not a news show covering trending topics or whatever, not news, cultural, whatever, then you got to try and find some positive stories. Because right now, it's just every time I hear about the WNBA, it's Caitlin Clark. It's wrapped up in all sorts of things about women versus men, race, and those are all important conversations to have. But eventually, if it's the only thing people talk about your sporting league, they're not going to care about watching the games. They're just going to want to hear the debates and the intellectual conversations about race and gender, and that's not good for the longevity of your league, my opinion.
Great work on that, and let's just move on. At the end of the day, enjoy the game. I thought that was the point of making her a big star. You will watch professional women's basketball.
Yeah.
But I guess I was naive, but we'll see where this goes, especially after the Stanley Cup playoffs ends and the NBA Finals is over.